Welcome back to Educate Me LGBT, the channel where we break down LGBTQ topics with clarity, compassion, and real science. Today, we're answering a question so many people still ask. Is being LGBTQ a choice? Let's look at what researchers, medical experts, and decades of studies actually say. Before we jump into the science, let's talk about why this matters. When people believe being LGBTQ is a choice, it can lead to judgment, shame, discrimination, and even harmful attempts to change someone, which is something every major medical organization has said is not only ineffective but dangerous. So let's clear this up with facts, not opinions. Research has been consistent for decades. Sexual orientation is not something people choose. Here's what we know. Studies on twins show that identical twins are more likely to share the same sexual orientation than fraternal twins, suggesting genetics plays a real role. Brain studies have found structural differences in certain regions of the brain between straight and gay individuals. These aren't things someone chooses. Hormonal influences in the womb can influence future sexual orientation. Studies show exposure to certain prenatal hormones, like testosterone, can affect how the brain develops long before a person is born. Epigenetics, which is the way genes express themselves, also appears to influence orientation. Research indicates that sexual orientation is not determined by a single gay gene. Instead, it appears to be the result of a combination of genetic, epigenetic, and environmental factors, making it a complex trait. The American Psychological Association, the American Medical Association, and every major scientific body agree that people don't choose their sexual orientation. It develops through a mix of biological and environmental factors that nobody controls. Next, let's talk about gender identity, your internal sense of being male, female, both, neither, or somewhere in between. Here's what the research shows us. Brain scan studies indicate that transgender people often have brain patterns more similar to the gender they identify as than the sex they were assigned at birth. Children who identify as transgender consistently show stable gender identities over time, which is not how a phase or a choice behaves. Genetics again play a role here too, just like with sexual orientation. Gender identity, like orientation, is shaped by complex biological factors. There is no evidence that someone decides to be transgender the way someone might decide what shirt to wear. It's an internal truth people discover, not a lifestyle people pick. Your identity is not a choice. But being honest about who you are can be a choice. And that's what takes courage. People choose whether it's safe to come out. People choose who they tell and when. But the orientation or gender identity itself, not chosen, not changeable, not optional. This is why conversion therapy has been discredited worldwide. You can't train or pray an identity away. If something were truly a choice, you wouldn't see the same consistent biological patterns across cultures, countries, and even other species. In fact, same-sex behavior and diverse gender expressions appear in over 1,500 species. Penguins, dolphins, lions, giraffes, you name it. Nature is full of diversity. So the idea that being LGBTQ is unnatural isn't supported by, well, nature itself. Here's the scientific conclusion. No. Being LGBTQ is not a choice. It's an inherent part of who someone is. It's shaped by biology, formed long before a person ever has words for it, and recognized by every credible scientific organization in the world. But here's something many people wonder. If it's not a choice, why do some people realize it later in life? Well, there are several reasons. Social pressure, a lack of language for it, internalized expectations, and natural development. Many people grow up in environments where being LGBTQ isn't talked about or accepted. It can take years or even decades to feel safe enough to acknowledge how you really feel. Some people don't have the words gay, bi, trans, non-binary, etc. until adulthood. You can't identify something you've never been taught to name. Society tells people from childhood who they're supposed to be attracted to and how they're supposed to identify. It can drown out a person's true internal signals. And for many, identity unfolds gradually. Just like some people discover passions or personality traits later in life, some uncover their orientation or gender identity after gaining self-awareness. Realizing later doesn't mean the identity changed or was chosen. It means a person finally understood or accepted what was always true about them. Before we wrap up, there's one more really important piece to address, because it's one of the biggest sources of confusion in this entire conversation. A lot of religious people genuinely believe sexuality or gender identity can be changed. Not because they're trying to be cruel, but because for decades, many churches were taught that being LGBTQ was a behavior, a temptation, or a phase, something you could work on or pray away. But here's the scientific and medical reality. You can change how you behave. You cannot change who you are. Every major medical and psychological association has confirmed that sexual orientation and gender identity are not choices, and they are not changeable. Attempts to force change, often called conversion therapy, don't work and actually cause deep harm, depression, anxiety, shame, and, in many cases, trauma that lasts for years. So why do some people still believe change is possible? Because these teachings were passed down through tradition, not evidence. They came from interpretations, opinions, and cultural beliefs, not science, not research, and not the lived experiences of LGBTQ people. Many people who tried to change didn't become straight. They just became exhausted, sad, or scared to be themselves. That's why so many religious leaders today, across different denominations, are openly acknowledging that orientation and identity aren't things you can switch on or off. This matters because when we talk about whether being LGBTQ is a choice, or why some people discover their identity later in life, or why it's so important to honor who someone truly is, we have to end with this simple truth. You don't choose to be LGBTQ, but you do choose whether to live openly, honestly, and safely. And everyone deserves the chance to do that without shame. If this video helped clarify things, give it a like, share it with someone who might need to hear this, and hit subscribe for more clear, science-based LGBTQ education. Drop your questions in the comments. Your curiosity helps shape future videos. Thanks for watching Educate Me LGBT. We'll see you in the next video.